Welcome back, and you're joining me today on the High Peak Trail up in the Peak District, and more specifically at Black Rocks. So there's a park run that starts here that's fairly recent, in the last year or two has opened on this High Peak Trail. Quite a good one, quite a flat one. But I've come up for what I intended was a bit of a run before I went for a swim at Matlock Bath, at the outdoor pool there. So it's something I've been enjoying whilst I've been recovering from my injury. But as it turned out today, I did quite a long bike ride yesterday and my calves felt a little bit stiff this morning, so I've opted against doing what run I'd intended to do today. So to recap where I've been recently with my running, I've made a decision to gradually return to running by doing some progressive sort of run walking, and now I've got to the stage where I did a 25-minute run, I think it was, on Friday lunchtime this week. So I feel from here that I'm at the stage where I can just keep to short, continuous runs. I don't feel that I need to be breaking it up into walk breaks. But I did start from a base of doing 5 minutes of jogging and then 1 minute walk. And then I just built it up in intervals from there to the longest time I did was on Monday this week. I did 12 minutes of running and 1 minute of walking. Then progressed into some more run walking on Wednesday, and then I did that continuous 25 minutes on Friday. So I've been giving myself every other day really to make sure that the tendons, muscles, everything else that in my body that's not used to so much running, because I've not been loading it as much recently, has that chance to recover and go again. So I'm not really building up from scratch, but I've got to treat it kind of as if I'm building my mileage up again as a newer runner. The good thing for me about keeping a lot of cross training in there is that I feel really fit at the moment aerobically. So that's a good sign that when I'm doing these runs and walks and building up that mileage again, I do feel good, but I've got to check that I'm still running with good form. Still thinking about keeping my core engaged and my pelvis tilted forward slightly, so I've not got that anterior pelvic tilt. I'm really having to concentrate that I'm sort of locked in those muscles within my hip, so that I'm not running with that sort of arch in your back where your bum sticks out a bit at the back and your hips push forward and you're not really running very efficiently there, and that's what's causing the troubles that I've been having. So making sure that I'm running with that correct technique, and then that niggle's not really going to come back. If I keep up that good form, I'm not putting so much strain on the muscles that are causing me a bit of issue in my hip, and it's more going to be loaded through my glutes, my hamstrings and the muscles that I should be using within my running. So I'd like to keep the routine like that in terms of running every other day and keeping it to maybe 30 minutes maximum, and all at a very easy pace with the running. So my plan is to keep this up for another couple of weeks whilst I still work on the physio work. So I'm back in again on Thursday of next week. So I think that, like I've said in the past, a couple more sessions I should start to get feeling a bit more myself again. I've got the range of movement back, but I'm just waiting for achiness and pain to go down so that I can run freely again. And in terms of the cross training, I want to keep this up. I enjoy the swimming, I enjoy the cycling. Now it's a bit better weather, so I've been enjoying getting out before work. I've got some slots and when I work from home that I can get either a bike ride, even get my running some days, but it's only taking half an hour, so I don't really want to use a whole morning slot just for a half an hour run. Or I can get out for a swim. I think Fridays of a day where I've got a 2-hour window really before I work, so it gives me a bit of flexibility to go over the hour with my swimming and get a bit of a more quality swimming rather than rushing to get it done within the hour. So then, just in terms of what I can do to help my rehab for hips, so it's not a great deal really. I've got a few exercises, I think there's 4 in total, that I've been doing for the past 3 weeks or so, and they've been helping. One's just really moving the hip sort of in flexion and then pulling it inward slightly, and then another one's if I rest my heel on the opposite knee, in a figure of 4 pose, and then I'm pushing against it, so it's stretching it laterally. So I've got it moving. I'm just really pushing the stretch a little bit in different planes. The other 2 stretches I've got, so one's a simple hip flexor stretch, but I've just made a few tweaks to it because talking to the physio a couple of weeks ago, noticed that I've probably been doing it slightly incorrectly, but I won't be thinking about it too much. I'll just get down in that position where you're in a lunge position and put in one. So my bad leg is my right leg, so I'll put that behind me and then drop into a lunge and push that stretch through the front of my hip. But what I've been doing, and because the top of my quad was pretty tight too, I've been doing a stretch that's probably more focused on my quad than on where I really need it in the hip, where I've got the discomfort. So made a small tweak to this that really got to concentrate on making sure that, again, that anterior pelvic tilt, that I engage that, push my hips forward, and then I feel the stretch more in where it's going to be beneficial to me. So I think making this change has led to a bit more progress in my rehab. I've also made some changes to the last exercise, which is the clamshells. So the clamshells I don't think I was really doing with too much technique, and I was using a resistance band for it, and the highest resistant band at that as well, because it's the only one I could find. So it was quite difficult, and I was probably doing it slightly wrong. The wrong muscles were taking over and it wasn't really targeting the muscles that I wanted it to. So made a small tweak, and that's going a little bit better. That it feels that it's more beneficial me doing this clamshell now, even without a resistance band, and it feels hard. So I'm doing something like, I'll get to whatever my rep limit is. It could be 6 one day, it could be 8 the next day, and do 3 sets of this in the morning and the evening, and that's been helping. I feel that those 4 exercises have been beneficial. And that does complete the update of how I'm going to return to running and what the plan is over the next couple of weeks. So I'll probably bring out another video very soon to keep you on top of the progress from physio and how I've been responding to this new sort of 30 minutes every other day running that I'm doing. Do I feel like it's helping? Do I feel like it's ramping up a bit too quick? I don't think it will, as it's a lot less than what I was doing when I was trying to train for a 20-mile race or a marathon. But really, for me, I've just got to keep patient, trust that the stretches, the physio treatment is going to work, and I'll be back to running pain-free, needle-free, and a little bit quicker. And I feel that I'm going to hit my running back at a very good level of fitness with the cycling and swimming I've been doing. I feel like I'm in a good place for, compared to a month or 2 ago. I feel like lighter within myself when I'm moving, even when I've been doing the running, as opposed to what I was a month or 2 ago. But more importantly, I also feel not just lighter, but a little bit stronger too. So obviously the conditioning from the cycling and the swimming has been helping me, as well as the rehab exercises I've been doing. So we'll check in again. It's a fairly positive update again, and see you in the next one.